Hi guys. Pizza to the Lord. Raise up your swords. Everyone stand up and give God an applaud. What is going on, you guys? We're back with another stack of racks. As you can see, my screen looks hella bright and my camera looks, all out of place and everything. Just some posters in the back. Anyways, y'all read the title. I continue to read this book. I continue to read this book because it's a nice book and everything. And I just, I just want to finish up, I just want to finish up, reading this book, for the rest of y'all out there. For if y'all wondering, what I've been doing for the past couple of days, I just, wanted to finish off with the first chapter because it's been on my mind, and I just, want to, I just wanted to savor this moment and read it, publicly, what I'm saying, before I do anything else, saying before I go back to streaming, before I do, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero content, you guys, I gotta finish up on my chapters, with Sword Art Online, the last recollection. So, shall we continue? Let's proceed. I come from a long line of project babies. It seems like poor people always start from the bottom. Either you make it out of the projects or you stay there. Sometimes for generations. Sometimes, excuse me. Sometimes for generations. I still know people that have been there for their entire lives, never advanced, never went nowhere else, never explored the rest of the world outside their neighborhood. I guess they're content. I guess they're I guess they're content with that sort of life. But I knew early on it wasn't for me. Only the pure of heart, only the pure of heart make it out of the ghetto. What that means to me is that when you really believe in what or who you are, you stay focused on yourself and you don't hurt anyone while trying to get out. You don't I'm sorry. You don't connive. You don't do any wretchedness to get ahead, and you don't backstab someone else to get out. I like that. I like that line. Okay, seventh page. Let's keep going. You get out with determination, willpower, and persistence in pursuing what you believe in. If you really believe you can, if you really believe you can become a doctor and you study to become a doctor, that's pure of hearts. Now, I became a songwriter, even though I had drugs and all that stuff in my world, and people was dying, and I might have sold poison, all that all that, and I might have sold poison and all that. But underneath all that drama, I was still pure of hearts. I never sold to a pregnant woman. I helped old ladies down the stairs. I still managed to keep my personal morals in an unrighteous setting. Hmm. In an unrighteous setting. Even though I was doing work to get by, there were still lines I would not cross. I know people that went through some hard things. They were thieves or murderers, and then they changed their life around. Got a job, had a family, and they got their things together. And just to say that a little bit, we're gonna paraphrase. We're gonna paraphrase. We're paraphrasing right now. Then they got their stuff together. Okay. Now just because you killed someone, you might think you're done. Man, you're gonna be you're gonna be screwed for the rest of your life. Not necessarily. Let me say that one more time. I didn't say that right. Now just because you killed someone, you might think you're done, man. You might think you're done, man. Man, you're gonna be screwed for the rest of your life. Not necessarily. Even if a person accidentally hurt someone or they did a wrong deed, you can always correct their deeds by choosing to act on their pureness of hearts. In other words, you choose a right path. You choose righteousness over negativity. That's what I did. My mother's My mother's from Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York. She was raised in the same project building as Raekwon's mother at 1543 East New York Avenue in Howard Houses. The Brownsville the Brownsville projects were the wildest period. The wildest. Okay. Ask anybody from New York City what part of Brooklyn is the roughest. They're gonna say Brownsville. Some projects you could walk through, some you couldn't. At its worst, you couldn't walk through Brownsville. You could not walk through Brownsville. You couldn't walk through Fort Greene. I'm sorry. You couldn't walk through Fort Greene or Peak Houses either. The tension and the violence was always in the air in those places. Guaranteed there was going to be fights, topped off with a few people getting cut or stabbed, and even back then, there might have been a shooting or two. Okay. Okay. Hmm. No, I lost myself. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. Hmm. Someone would probably end up dead by the end of the ruckus. That's why I don't like going back to my own projects nowadays. I feel like the spirit, I feel like the spirits of my own comrades are calling to me. They're still haunting the projects they hustled at and got killed in. When I was a kid, there was always someone looking to rob your sneakers, your coat, anything that could get their hands on. They would steal your sneakers right off your feet. They're stealing your sneakers right off your feet. Back then, if you wore gold chains and things, you better know how to shoot or how to fight. Hmm. And the cops would really do anything to prevent a crime or deal with it after the fact. They just didn't care. And when they actually did get involved, a lot of the time it turned out worse for us. Oh, Jesus. During my early 70s, during my early 70s, law enforcement had no regard for life. My grandmother told me on my grandmother told me more I'm sorry, my grandmother told me on more than one occasion that the cops in the 73rd precinct in Brownsville were killing people in the neighborhood. Lord Jesus. She and a lot of people, she and a lot of her friends and family claimed that people would get escorted in handcuffs and bleeding, and they would never be seen again. Whoa. Guess the cops put them under the jail, literally. That's how treacherous it was in Brownsville. Just getting in, just getting in and out of the neighborhood was an adventure. My mother got her pocketbook snatched 4 or 5 times right in front of me. She had to call the police to escort us from train station to my grandmother's building on several occasions because a group of kids were waiting on the bench to snatch the few dollars she had. Each project or street had at least one gang or crew. You couldn't walk from one block to the next if you didn't know the right people. Thugs will come right off the stoop and get in your face. Thugs. Who you coming here to see? Who you coming here to see? What you think it's okay for you to walk through my block and I don't know you? If I don't know you? Yeah. The local gang dressed in Kangos, Pumas, and Adidas tracksuits, hung around the bus stop near the Chinese restaurant on Pittskin Avenue. I hope I'm saying that right. Pittskin Avenue. At the time, Pittskin Avenue was the shopping area in Brownsville. It was full of clothing stores, had OTB, all track betting. OTB. Not ODB, but OTB. Okay. Alright. And dudes would be retailing stuff on the corner. There was also a slaughterhouse where they used to slaughter chickens. My grandmother would take me over there, and there would be chickens in a cage. She she'd get fresh chicken cut from the butcher. Oh Lord, y'all forgive me for my reading. Lord Jesus, I'm gonna get through this first chapter though. I'm gonna get through the first chapter. Try to forget how many pages. Okay, okay, cool. It's the 19th. All right. Okay, cool. Okay, let me see. My grandmother would take me over there, and there would be chickens in a cage, and she'd get fresh chicken cut from the butcher. We were always leery of these dudes, just like we were anytime when we went anywhere in the projects. I remember seeing them chilling one time as some guy came riding towards them on the 10 speed. Ooh. One of the gangsters came out of nowhere, and whacked him over the head with a pipe. Then took the bike and went and sat down on the bench. We just kept walking like we didn't see anything. No one else did anything or react to. Sorry about that. Lord Jesus. Laying there twitching and bleeding. My crazy Brownsville memory, though, involves Mike Tyson, who came from Brownsville. Oh yeah, we all heard about the Mike Tyson stories. He used to rob old lady. Yeah. Let me guess. He used to rob. Oh, he used to rob you God's grandmother. He robbed you God's grandmother. That's crazy. Mike Tyson, shame on you. Shame on you, Mike Tyson. My crazy Brownsville memory, though, involves Mike Tyson, who came from Brownsville. This was back in the 70s, before he was the world champion or had even started boxing. I was about 8 years old, holding my grandmother's hand, walking down Pittskin Avenue by the OTB when this dude came by and snatched my mother's earring right off her earlobes, left her with bloody ears, and everything just took off. Bloody ears. Watch out for the bloody ears, like Tyson. I was too young to remember exactly what he looked like at the time, but years later, when Tyson started getting famous, my mother saw him on TV and swore, "That's the guy who snatched my earrings." It sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, and of course, I don't have any proof. But that didn't stop me from fantasizing as a kid that a slew of Brooklyn Brooklynites. Let me see. Fantasizing as a kid that a slew of Brooklynites, even some Manhattanites. I'm sorry, even some Manhattanites could say the same thing about the world champion. Oh Lord Jesus, this is funny. I don't know who my father is or where he comes from. I wish I could find out more about him. A big part of okay, let's see. A big part of why I don't know much about him is because of how I was conceived. My mother probably wouldn't want me to bring this up because she hates me talking about it. But I was a product of rape. I was a product of rape. I was a rape baby. She told me my father had tricked her into bed believing he was a photographer and wanted to model for him. Hmm. She told me my father had tricked her into believing he was a photographer and wanted her to model for him. He told her she was a natural beauty and all this other fly shit. She learned she learned her I'm sorry, he lured her to a spot. He lured her to a spot and took advantage of her. She never pressed charges and never even reported it. The only person who could the only person who could have told me more about him was my mother's friend, Carol. Carol used to be pretty, good looking back in her Brooklyn days. She liked to party. She liked to party and used to hang around my. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just getting emotional right now. Okay. She liked to party and used to hang around my father and the dudes he ran with. She was on drugs and eventually contracted HIV. She had a brain. I don't know how to say this word, so I'm going to spell it out. Aneurysm. Tag me if someone knows how to say that word. And is currently in a mental ward in Brooklyn. She doesn't remember a thing now. Needless to say, she's not much help to me as far as learning about my dad. When I was around 10 years old, I remember asking about my father a lot, but Moms wouldn't tell me anything. She didn't tell me about him until I was a grown man. I've been asking off and on for years, though. My dad was the missing piece of my whole life. Who's my dad, though, Ma? Who is my dad? God is your father. God is your father, she would always reply. Finally, when I was 21, she got into some of the details. She also explained why she kept me. She told me that one night, God came to her in a dream and told her not to abort this child, that I was going to be a great man someday. So she kept me. That dream solidified her spirituality, her connection with God. My mom is real spiritual. I mean, like super spiritual. So she always points out how it's funny that my name turned out to be You God. And now look at you. She told me once, as if confirming that the dream had been right. She always emphasized that she never regretted having me, even during the tough times we went through. The way I see it, you got to be a you got to be a compassionate individual to love a child conceived the way I was. When she told me, I was shocked. The average person, even if born accidentally, is still often born out of love. And to know I'd be brought into the world like that really rocked me. The whole situation seemed like a fluke accident. After all, my mother wasn't looking to get pregnant at the time, and certainly not to be no fly by night photographer rapist. But I had to accept that that was how I'd been born, and that it wasn't going to stop me from being great. Let me take a sip of this water. I get thirsty. Excuse me. Yet make no mistake, I am the product of both my parents. I have the side that comes from my mother, like her good heart, but I also got my father's hustle, my father's side. I know my mother doesn't have it. Must must be where I get my internal drive from. Hmm, internal drive from. Okay. Nobody else in my family has it, so it had to come from my father. To this day, I have no idea where my pops is at. Even if I wanted to fight him, I have no idea where to start looking. Those little bits Mom told me when I was older are all I really know about him. Excuse me. I want to know who he is. I want to know who he is. What else we have in common? Even though he tricked my mother, I was still his son. What features did I get from him? What habits? What disorders? Just a whole lot of questions I'll never know the answers to. Poor Lamont Hawkins, man. Poor Lamont Hawkins. Poor you, God. For the first 12 years of my life, for the first 12 years of my life, it was just me and my mom. We were always close. She raised me from a boy into respectable into the respectable man I am now. I did it on her I did it on her on during the end Koch era. The end Koch era. Some of the wildest times New York City has ever seen. During the 70s and 80s, during the 70s, 80s, and 90s were probably the city's most violent times. Even before crack hit, NYC was teetering on bankruptcy. A lot of social programs got slashed, if not cut from the city's budget altogether. All five boroughs have violent neighborhoods. Muggings, robberies, rape, assaults, and murders were all too common. You couldn't ride the train too late. Before crack, heroin was flowing, coke was flowing, pimps, prostitutes, corrupt cops, all the New York City cliches were presented were, were present and thriving. Growing up, you always had to be aware of your surroundings. In the ghetto, in the projects, in those types of high risk, high violent parts of town, you always had to be aware because things could jump off at any moment. Like when I'm in the hood, I'm around these crazy knuckleheads. It doesn't say that, but I'm paraphrasing. But it means I have to be aware what they're doing. Because if they're messing around and I'm standing nearby, next thing you know, my head, my sloppy sucking head, might get blown off by some sloppy sucker trying to get someone he got beef with. Word. So you grew up watching this stuff. You always had to be aware. You had to, you had the bullies to watch out for. You always had to be on point. And to this day, it's like that for a black man living in poverty stricken area. In a poverty stricken area. It ain't the fact, it isn't the fact that you're involved in some stuff. Cause often, cause often you ain't doing anything. It's that you're so confined and so closed off in a urban box. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's take my time. Okay, where was I? It ain't the fact. It ain't the fact that you're involved in this stuff. Cause often you ain't doing anything. It's that you're so confined and you're so closed off in an urban box that you have to be aware of everyone and everything around you at all times. But a lot of people really don't understand this, how growing up like that changes a person for the rest of their life. I'm changed right now. It messes me up, and I'm never going to be the same. I don't have any close friends. I can have friends. I can't have friends from Park Hill no more. I can't have. I can't deal with those dudes. I can't deal with certain things on the street. I can't be around certain people. Why? Because now I'm slashed. I'm always mentally aware of certain situations that I was. I'm always mentally aware of certain situations that I wasn't aware of before. So I had to cut off. So I had to cut a lot of that stuff out of my life. Eventually, when we eventually we left Brooklyn for Staten Island and ended up in Park Hill. In the late 1970s, welfare housing on the island was going for a good rate. It was a chance for my mother and Raekwon's mother to move out of Brownsville. Hmm. And at first, Park Hill was nice. At first, Park Hill was nice. When we got there, it was a working class neighborhood. It's still it's still a community. It's still, it's still a community. There were buses on the lobby doors. There was grass behind the buildings. The school was right down the block. I mean, I still grew up in the notorious Park Hill projects. But back when we first arrived, Park Hill and most of Clifton and even nearby Stapleton had all just undergone urban renewals. Renewal. Sorry about that. It was a predominantly black population, and the neighborhood still looked newish, so things didn't seem so rough. Shouts to Rebel Lioness. Shouts to the Rebel Lioness, baby. Yes, sir. Park Hill is privately. I'm sorry. I'm about to say that. Right. Park Hill is privately owned, but federally subsidized. That is a bad combination because the federal government guarantees the owners that the residents' rent will be paid. That sounds good, but not if the rent still gets paid whether repairs are made and upkeep maintained or not. Still at first, it wasn't too bad. It was still a housing complex in Rugg, but you had a 50-50 chance. Yeah, 50-50 chance of walking through or near it and not getting the heck about heck with by the locals and not getting fumbled with by the locals. So okay, I'm gonna say that one more time. Still at first, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. It was still a housing complex in Rugg, but you had a 50-50 chance of walking through or near it and not getting screwed with by the locals. But then things started getting broken, and they wouldn't get fixed for months, and sometimes not at all. Sometimes not at all. As a result of the owner's neglect, Park Hill began getting worse and worse. But I didn't see all that at the time. In a lot of ways, I had experiences like a lot of regular American kids, and there was a lot of that was different too. And there was a lot of that was different too. I was a latchy. I was a latch. I was a latchy kid. I'm sorry. I was a latchkey kid. Okay, I was a latchkey kid from the age of 6 or 7, which meant I was home a lot with no parental supervision every day. Mom, mama gave me the apartment keys so I could let myself in after school. And you don't. answer the door or the phone for anybody. hmm I gotta say that one. I gotta say that one more time. I gotta say that one more time. I'm sorry. You don't answer the door or the phone for anybody. I have a babysitter when my mother could afford it, but there were some pickings for good babysitters. I went through a lot of them. I went through a lot of them. I remember one of my babysitters. She was a good person who kept a clean house and cared for me. She would give me lunch. She would give me my lunch and make sure I did my homework. She had two daughters, and all three of them would babysit me in her apartment. But she was always straight up. But she was also a straight up heroin addict. Oh Lord! One day I walked into the living room at their place and saw her shooting heroin on the couch. Her hands were all swollen with needle holes. Damn. At the time, at the time, I didn't know what they were from. I don't know what they were from. I can still see them now. Her boyfriend and a couple of other folks I never seen before were there too, all shooting that stuff up. You had to understand that my mother had no idea this was going on. She was busy working hard and going to school, trying to better our situation. So I just kept so I just kept things like that to myself. And although that babysitter was a functioning drug addict, she was good to me. When I grew up, I never looked down on her. Plus, I didn't even know what what they were sticking in their arms at that time anyway. At the time anyway. Okay. At the time anyway, years later I realized they were just hardcore heroin addicts. And when I say hardcore, I mean hard core. I had another babysitter who was a little freaky. Oh, okay. I had another babysitter who was a little freaky. While she was babysitting me, she'd be playing with my penis. I never spoke up about it to anyone. I was too young to really know what was going on, but it's instinctually, instinctually, I knew she wasn't be doing it. She shouldn't be. I knew she shouldn't be doing it. Regardless, I liked it. It was the first awakening of my sexuality, and I liked her, so I'll never reveal her name. Oh boy. Growing up, okay. Growing up, growing up how we did, you think it was all hard times. We were too young to know we were disadvantaged. Disadvantaged. You sort of have a feeling something's not right, but you're a kid, so you adapt and learn how to have your fun anyway. And there were a lot of good times and funny memories to balance out the hardcore ones. Like Big Titty Rose. Big Titty Rose had the first pair of titties I ever saw. Oh God. I'm gonna have to stop it right here, you guys. My brain is getting compiled with so much information, and yeah, I'm just gonna have to, leave that for next time. But hey, that was me trying to finish off the first chapter, y'all. Let me know if I should do more videos like this, and if y'all like what y'all see, if y'all like this video, please drop a gem on me, and don't forget to tell a friend, bring them in, so we can keep on making these amends. Until next time, peace and blessings. Piccolo!